Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to another exciting episode of Psychology Talks. And today we're going to talk about leadership, the way leadership is changing in Middle Eastern countries, in this particular region. Because so far, most of my guests have been from the Western part of the world. But this time, I'm fortunate enough to have a great leader with us who is from Abu Dhabi. And he is one of the he's playing an instrumental role in leading all the change in the leadership in this region. And as that leadership is not just a title, it's an ability to inspire, influence, and guide others towards a common or a shared goal or a vision. And the effective leadership quality exhibits in a vision, like when a leader has a very profound vision or a clear vision, and that leader leads with integrity, empathy, and resilience. And that's what makes anyone successful or a good leader. And that's why I have invited our guest today. His name is Saeed Alghafri. He's an accomplished CEO, a dedicated coach, an astute entrepreneur, and he brings a wealth of experience and wisdom that transcends the conventional leadership paradigm. So let's welcome Saeed. Thank you so much for joining. It's an honor to have you today with us.
Thank you so much, Amber, and thank you for the lovely introduction. I really appreciate it, and I'm grateful to be here with you today.
Thank you so much. I actually gave a very, very brief introduction to our
Yeah.
audience. But please tell us about yourself, that what was your background, what struggles you faced when you were starting your career or doing your studies, and how you end up here. Uh,
Yeah.
so just tell us a bit more about yourself so our audience get to know you better.
Yeah. So I'm a very normal human being, first of all.
Yeah.
uh, so uh, so since the beginning, and before I start, I have a very lovely family, and I'm a
Mhm.
husband. I have a really lovely family, and this is something that I'm very grateful to have.
Mhm.
My parents are basically nearby, so I can see them whenever I want. So I'm very blessed to be around people who really care about me.
Mhm.
And I started, when I used to be very young.
Mhm.
I used to be not the most organized guy in terms of studying and stuff, but I used to do very well in school, to be completely honest with you. And people were a little bit surprised that
Mhm.
why this and that. But I didn't have any structure growing up, to be honest with you. I was very much spontaneous as a person, very
Mhm.
playful, extremely cheeky, to be honest with you. And I fell in love with computers in the beginning and video games. That's basically how I started. And I said,
Okay.
when I grow up, I'm going to be a person who makes video games
Oh, wow.
uh, and computers. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that
Mhm.
was like because I've gone through a lot of video games when I grow on, so that's why I fall in love with it. But
Wow.
unfortunately, what happens is I continued my studies in the USA. I started, and I'm
Mhm.
actually going to write about it tomorrow in my LinkedIn, anyways. So I started
Okay.
at this journey, but then I basically did not do very well at all in the beginning. So
Oh.
I really, at all, no, I didn't do very well.
Oh.
And
Okay.
then I had to choose, and then I chose chemical engineering.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I like to do is balance. So
Mhm.
I made a really promise that I'm gonna really go there study, but I'm also gonna have fun. To be completely honest with you,
Okay.
I'm far away from
Yeah.
home, so I need to basically balance
Mhm.
ultimately. So I graduated. So I was not doing very well in the beginning, but then toward the end, I tried to basically work very hard, and I studied,
Mhm.
and I graduated from the USA, came to Abu Dhabi, went to an oil field that I worked in as a process engineer.
Mhm.
Uh, Stayed for 2 years single, and then I got married.
Mhm.
then I really didn't connect very well with my first job, to be honest with you. But that did not stop me from doing very well on learning and this. So I continued as is if I'm gonna stay there. But I was looking around because I really didn't connect very well with that space.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved where I am today, and I've been here since maybe I forgot that 17, 18 years, the same
Wow.
job. But I've
Mm-hmm.
really grown very well, and I've studied a lot, I've learned a lot, and I've done a lot. And when I look back,
Mm-hmm.
I see that I've done a lot. To be completely honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I've been one of the people who has developed a complete supply chain of the business of where I am
Wow.
today. So I've seen how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, was very tough
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning, so I had to use my own ways to basically navigate.
Yeah.
And then I was promoted to take over commercial, which is
Wow.
basically supply chain, sales, marketing. Then I looked at the complete group, and today I'm basically the CEO of the company, including operations. This is what I am
Wow.
today. Yeah, in a nutshell. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna spend a lot of time talking about it.
No, that what an amazing journey you had. Basically, you I like when I was just listening to your story, you're just saying that you had a passion for the computer games, which is like I think which is a passion of lots of young people these days, and they want to do a lot in this field. But then you mentioned that you didn't do very well in that, and then I think that was a time when people need to know that no matter what, if something they like and if they're not doing well, they need to change their path instead of just trying, keep on trying for something. Because their passion could be somewhere else instead of what they think it is there. Because I think what you mentioned is maybe which is actually could be the case of lot of young generation these days, as they are more into gaming and video games and all these, they think that this is their passion. But it's, I think that is their temporary state where they think that this is their passion. But as like, because your life is testament that your passion was somewhere else, and when you opted for that, you did well. But of course, with a lot of hard work, with a lot of consistent hard work and efforts, that is why you're here. So what an amazing journey you had. So like you mentioned that it's been almost 2 decades that you've been leading the company, so I'm sure you must have seen a lot of changes in the culture, in the environment. And as we also, like, since I'm also in the same region, and I've seen that the changes are happening so rapidly. What's your view on that, that how the environment is changing, how it is different from the time when you joined it?
Yeah, so I mean, let me just mention that we're very fortunate to be in the Middle East. Very
Yes.
fortunate because the Middle East, especially, I'm not going to say I'm too old, don't get me wrong, but we basically
Yeah.
are developing as
Yes.
nations, especially in the
Yeah.
Middle East.
Yeah.
So the beauty about that is that you witness the growth of the region.
Absolutely.
And when you are in a growth stage, I mean, and something I love, you learn a lot, you see a lot. The change is
Yeah.
very much rapid. Like you
Yeah.
compare this region with any, I'm not going to say anywhere on there, but the matured economies. Because,
Yeah.
I remember just to give a little bit of a perspective. When I went to the USA, I was very amazed with
Hmm.
how it is, very amazed the way
Yeah.
they do banking. Honestly, I'm sorry, but this is maybe a bit silly, but I used to love the drive-through when you go to the restaurant and you basically go through the drive-through. So they had drive-through banking, drive-through food, everything was drive-through. So it was it was amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I think I went last time in 2012, and
Hmm.
forgive me, I'm just comparing the UAE, for example.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen any major development, to be honest with you, from a
Okay.
service perspective.
Yeah.
So it shows that, currently the learning curve is faster than the way it used to be in the past. So
Mm-hmm.
your basically style, your approach towards stuff should be very rapid, and
Mm-hmm.
it has to cope with the speed of development or the speed of growth.
Yeah.
And that's what we have seen. And I'm specifically talking about the UAE.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the UAE started the journey back in 1997.
Yeah.
He started. But the growth in the next 15 years was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
We had to basically step up. We had to basically step up. We had to learn
Mm-hmm.
the hard way. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this region is still growing, and it will
Yeah.
grow. And it's a fantastic opportunity for people to learn and see how change management is from its aspects.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you that, the change is so rapid, but the main thing is that we need to be willing to be able to embrace those change, because if we don't accept those change, it's likely that we are left behind. So I would ask you that what do you think that what are the main opportunities and what are the main obstacle in the region, that is one, like these are actually the two questions, that what are the opportunities that actually fueling that growth and this is like helping you change, and then at the same time what are the obstacles that are actually stopping you to embrace that growth.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna talk a lot about a lot of
Sure.
opportunities, but for me, the first opportunity is the leadership and the vision we have.
Yeah.
The vision, especially in the UAE, the way I look at today, Saudi Arabia, for example, and the way Qatar has really reformed itself to basically host the World Cup, tells you that the leadership have a vision,
Yeah.
which is the most important thing and the most important component. Once
Hmm.
you have the leaders having such a vision, having a
Yeah.
strategy, then it's just a matter of how are we going to do
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, this is like the most important opportunity that I see in this region.
Hmm.
Now, just to balance that out, that doesn't mean that it's going to be an easy sell, but it's going to be also the math. It's then we need to look at the obstacles.
Yeah.
Since we are a growing nation, it
Hmm.
means that the skills we want are maybe not available. So there
Yeah.
should be some sort of a bridge to make that happen, and then develop the nations as we go.
Hmm.
So the obstacle is maybe the knowledge is not here, the skills are not here. But
Yeah.
again, since we live now in a world which is very close, we're close to each other. Look, I'm talking to you here, and virtually you're
Yeah.
somewhere else, and I'm here, and it's
Yeah.
becoming very close. So then the idea is you can bridge that, but it's
Hmm.
an obstacle in this region as we speak.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's great. That's true. One thing is that what I have also noticed here, like there are actually two kinds of mindsets they're operating in this region as well. One is kind of I wouldn't say the like fixed mindset, but it's like a more like a traditional kind of a way of working, and the one is evolving as more like a modern view or something. So, do you feel that, or do you think that there is a kind of a contradiction happening, or there could be some resistance, as many people are actually still attached to the traditional way of doing it, and replacing it with the modern view, or you do think that it's fine, like they're more easily adapting the new modern technologies or modern views?
Yeah, I mean, usually, Amber, businesses,
Yeah,
the business world is very competitive.
yeah,
And, you've got, let's say, business A, business B, business C, business D, naturally.
hmm,
And they're all around, consumers. So they
yeah,
basically they serve like the consumer sector.
mm,
Now, if you are basically, and forgive me, I'm just trying to make it in an
yeah,
example so
yeah,
that you would
sure,
understand. Naturally, you're gonna buy from the company from a company that basically cope with your perspective, and depends on how old you are.
Yeah.
So if you look at the, we're young, we're high tech, we use mobile. For example, today, if I want to buy anything, I use the mobile. To be honest with you, I don't
Yeah.
log into a PC and buy,
Yeah.
something, whether it's online. So imagine there is a company which is a very traditional, and they don't have such an application or such a facility. This
Yeah.
means that they're going to lose business. So the way the time the where the environment that we're in today obligates us. So it's not like it's an optional. If you want to
Yeah.
stay competitive, you have to basically adopt the latest technology, or else you're going to be eaten up by competition.
Yeah.
And if you read uh, any book or anything about strategies, they talk about classic examples.
Yeah.
uh, for example, Kodak. Uh, for
Yes.
example, there's another one. So Kodak is one, and I remember now it completely changed. Completely
Yeah.
changed. Xerox and Canon, and how basically they bridged the gap, and now basically no one now says. I remember when I went to the USA, they don't say let's make a copy. They say let's Xerox to that extent.
Yeah.
So right now, if you're not really coping with and so in a nutshell, if you're not, then you're gonna be eaten up by competition. It's a
Yeah.
no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah, completely agree with you that basically these technology that evolving, we need to embrace it and we need to develop our skills to actually use the technology. And I remember, like you mentioned, that here the main obstacles is that we may not have that skill, right? But as you say that since now the world has become a global village and it's like very easy to reach out any place anywhere and to access that skill, so what is your way of developing that skill set which is not present here?
Yeah. So the name of the game today is how to be innovative.
Yeah.
In my at least opinion and the way I look at it. Uh, the first thing is, we need to have the right environment to innovate.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if let's say I am an employee and I want to make something new.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm basically gonna do a new thing, and this is how most of the great companies in the past failed. To be honest
Yeah.
with you, they had really bright people, but
Yeah.
those ideas did not go up, and then they went somewhere else, and those company, uh, let's say, demolished, and then you had other people coming.
Yeah.
So reality is we need to have the right environment.
Yeah.
So in terms of, do we have the right culture? Do we have the right vision? And then I would look at, do we have the right processes? Do we have the right structure? In terms of, okay, do we have people to do it? Do we have the right structure? How about the process? How about the approval level? Do I need to get 30 approvals to basically get something done?
Yeah.
Uh, and how about the speed of change? And that will measure the speed of change. Does it
Yeah.
take us 1 year to do it, or how long does it take us? And then, okay, am I motivated enough to do it or not?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then you look at, do I have the skills? Do I have the mindset? Do I have the right attitude
Yeah.
to do it? So you need to have like a kind of a, let's say, a framework
Hmm.
for you to basically have the right way to innovate. What I see nowadays, and I'm not telling you that I'm an expert. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm still experimenting, okay, and I'm
Hmm.
still in the beginning of the journey.
Hmm.
But what I see is, and I used to be here, I used to hear this a lot. Let's innovate. Someone comes and
Yeah.
say, "Let's innovate." But what exactly do you want us to innovate on?
Yeah.
So the message, the vision, the the purpose should be very clear on where do we
Yeah.
want to reach.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's very true, and I think you mentioned it's very important to innovate. Like those companies who don't innovate are the ones who are actually maybe left behind. And you mentioned that Kodak is the example where they actually refused to actually grow, and then how they were left if how they were like, they were out from the market because someone else started taking, or they innovated something much useful that replaced their technology. So that's the name of the game. To If you want to stay in the market, you need to innovate, and the change, the pace of change is so like it's so accelerated at the moment. Then if you don't innovate at the same pace, you would be nowhere, and you will start losing the business. And you rightly mentioned that the change begins from the main leadership, right? It's basically what I see, that from when I've studied different companies, their culture. If the culture, is start from the top management, like they're able to manage, or maintain good level of like employees, the employee satisfaction and everything. So I would ask you that what are your strategy to foster that culture, you know to where you cultivate like the positive mindset, and you cultivate the motivation, and at the same time is stopping that culture to develop or to going toward toxicity.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what I just mentioned. Those, for me, it's very important to create
Yeah,
the right environment.
yeah. So how do you
And
create that right
yeah,
environment?
and to be, you know what, someone told me, I mean, which
Mhm.
is something I will not forget, which is I mean, something very, very normal is, you know what, it's why innovation is important is because, someone told me, whatever takes you here wouldn't take you further.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so reality is when you make a new, let's say strategy or vision,
Hmm.
people are already having a complacency that okay, they're the
Yeah.
best and nothing can change it.
Hmm.
Now it's very important to create an environment where we start asking questions. And I'm one of those guys who are very curious. I'm very curious in nature. So you'll
Hmm.
see me poking my face here and there, asking about that, why this is happening. Maybe if there's a door, I open the door. So reality is that's the right mindset. You need to
Hmm.
basically always I mean, there are some specific behaviors that you want to aspire to have if you want to be more
Yeah.
innovative. But the
Yeah.
environment, creating that environment is important. So the first thing is, what are the behaviors and the attitude and the mindset you want to have,
Yeah. Okay.
right? Very important.
Hmm.
Because if I have that, but again, the structure is not helping me,
Yeah.
then it's not going to work. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
So those four elements, structure, processes, am I motivated? Am I
Hmm.
really incentivized very well? Okay. Do I basically have the mindset, the right mindset, etc.? Do I have my values and culture specifically messaged, communicated? Then that basically will tell me how I am basically acting. Now, the second thing, which is very important, and brain is, there is that walk the talk or
Yes.
leadership visibility. Now,
Hmm.
again, I may say, I may come and tell you, you know what, you should not smoke. Forgive me for the example.
Hmm.
Yeah, don't smoke. It's not good for your health, etc. And then 1 minute after that, you see me smoking outside. What do you
Yeah.
think you're gonna?
Yeah.
You're definitely gonna go and say, "This guy is full of crap," and I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
believe him. So reality is, it's very important to act as a leader. You know,
Hmm.
act as a
Yeah.
leader is very important. And then throughout time, you're going to see people believing that you really mean it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's also it's all about the integrities and value as well, because you need to show that people that you are the man of the vision, or you are the person that they can actually trust you. So that happens when you mentioned that when you walk the talk. So that's really amazing. I Now I actually also want to like to ask you that you mentioned that you also you're a father, you're a husband, and so how do you strike the balance between work life and the personal life? Because I know that this is very important for the mental sanity to have that kind of balance?
Yeah, I think it's not very. These are not very difficult strategies. What I'm saying, but you need to have the right mindset.
Yeah.
Uh, First of all, is I'm one of those guys who believe that
Hmm.
uh, the change or whatever you want to do always start within you.
Yeah.
So if you think that your family are important, you need to do something about it.
Hmm.
Very simple.
Yeah.
It's not like, okay, you need to write the right, basically you're writing an email, which will
Hmm.
take 2 hours. And then you say, you know what, my family is also very important. No, your family is not important.
Yeah.
So reality is we need to identify what is really important. Now, there may be times where we are forgetting.
Yeah.
So what I do, to be honest with you, one of the things I do, Amberine, is I do use the reminders in my phone application a lot, to be honest with you. So I
Yeah.
put everything there.
Hmm.
And whenever the time, work doesn't finish ultimately. Yeah, it doesn't finish. So we can stay here
Yeah.
forever. But reality is, do I need this to be done now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So priorities are important. You need to shut down. Basically, if let's say 5 p.m. is your time, that's it. You should just create that barrier. It's a
Yeah.
mental barrier, and say, you know what, that's it. With time, you're going to see yourself basically following that, and then you're going to create that balance somehow. But it's very important to identify whether your family is important and this. Now, some people, including myself, by the way, especially my kids, I could not
Mhm.
really speak to them. Really, in the beginning, it was very difficult. But
Yeah.
we need to basically have shared, values, shared, let's say, messaging,
Hmm.
shared thing for us to strike that conversation or to talk about or to share an activity, for example. This is applicable on your kids, family, father, mother, bless them if they're alive, or anyone else who's basically you're gonna work with.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think that's very important to have to set the right priorities, that you know that what exactly uh, where your work is and how your family is. So if you know the priorities, because sometimes the work is urgent, but you need to have the right priority, that it could be urgent, but is it on the right priority? Is it on the priority which requires your attention at the moment, or it can be delayed? So that is one thing I think is a very key point. And I also noticed that you also talk a lot about the meditation and yoga. How does it help you? Do you think that it should be done consistently or just once off? So what are your views on that?
You know what? This is something that it's very difficult to explain unless you experiment it. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, to be completely honest,
Mhm.
you know, I'm gonna just simplify the word. Meditation is,
Yeah.
most of the people look at the external, let's say, external fact of it, which is someone sitting, closing their eyes, and relaxing.
Yeah.
But it's not. Unfortunately, it's not. It teaches you discipline,
Yeah.
and it teaches you patience, and it teaches you an unbelievable way to be much more connected with yourself. Because
Absolutely.
human beings are just a complex uh, set of thoughts. Like, if you just leave me there, I'm just going to have different thinking thoughts in my mind.
Yeah.
Even if I don't like you, even if I like you, I'm going to have thoughts that I like you or I don't like you. So the mind is just unbelievable. It's completely not disciplined.
Yeah.
Meditation really taught me to be much more much slow in my approach, and it really made me look at things much more different. It
Yeah.
really widened my, I would say, perspective of looking at things.
Yeah.
uh, that's the same with with yoga, especially when I practice.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. I mean, you're spot on this. That our mind is. I usually actually often say that the mind is a terrible master but really like a good slave. That so we need to keep it as a slave, not make it a master, because if we just let all these thoughts come into our mind and just start listening to what exactly is happening, then, like, our mind goes crazy. We need to actually focus on the right thoughts, which actually empower us, which help us move forward in a successful way. So and that's exactly what happens when we meditate, because we are able to calm down the mental noise, the chatter that keeps on going on, that actually drains a lot of energy. And as you know, our mind has a capability of have to produce more than 50,000 thoughts per day. So just imagine if you just keep focusing on those 50,000 thoughts, you will not be able to do anything, because you are wasting your time and energy on those unnecessary thoughts. So that's why it is very important to have right focus, calm down your mind, and to be able to focus on the right thoughts. So like, I know we're almost reaching to the end of the show, but I want to ask that now you have seen the change in the Middle East, right? Because you've been there on in a leadership position. You've witnessed the change. So what do you think? What do you foresee the future of leadership in the Middle East?
Yeah, I think I don't like to make things specific, to be honest with you, Ambreen, as
Okay.
much as possible. I know we're in the Middle East somehow,
Yeah.
but there are great examples of leaderships, and there are really not so great examples of leadership.
Yeah.
The same is applicable anywhere if you go in the world. So it's not
Mhm.
like it's like pockets, but whatever is up, and that's the beauty of the current time. The current time is uh, since we are becoming very close, the challenges and the opportunities are becoming more or less unified, more or
Mhm.
less, I would say.
Mhm.
So I think when we look at the Middle East specifically,
Mhm.
you see that there is a notion of sustainability coming on the surface a lot.
Mhm.
So that
Yeah.
everyone now, and you've seen the COP28 and how successful it was, and I wasn't expecting it to be that successful, but the draft and whatever the countries have agreed upon shows that this was a very successful COP. To be
Mhm.
honest with you, so it shows now that the way we look at things will be completely different.
Yeah.
So the agenda of sustainability is very strong. The agenda of the ecosystem and how to basically collaborate with each other, how to complement, is very strong. Now, when you look at when you look at digitization or the digital world, it's very strong actually.
Yeah.
So these are how our leadership will basically be shaped in the future. The way I
Mhm.
look at it and the
Mhm.
trends that we need to keep in mind. And whenever we write strategies or we think about goals or purpose or anything, those, in my opinion, three things
Okay.
uh, we need to keep in mind.
Okay, I mean, yeah, that's especially the way it has been emerging these days. Completely agree. The sustainability is the main agenda, and I think it should be, because that's how we can save our planet. If we have to move on and sustain life, then we have to think. I mean, it should be the on the priority. So before I actually close this discussion, what one advice would you give to our audience today to succeed in leadership or roles?
Uh, a lot comes into my mind, to be honest.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I really like doing, and it really taught me a lot, is I like the curiosity. I like to be curious,
Hmm.
and this really taught me that I should welcome ideas. Sorry,
Hmm.
welcome perspectives.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I don't really, I'm not one of those guys who say no. I'm always curious.
Hmm.
So you see me asking questions.
Yeah.
why this is happening. Why am I going today in this way, for example? Why this happened? Even if I did it yesterday, I always
Mm-hmm.
say, why? Can we do this better?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think is important, especially now, because
Mm-hmm.
time is changing significantly. Like
Yeah.
everything is significantly changing. And I've read a fantastic book
Mm-hmm.
which shows that in the last 100 years,
Mm-hmm.
or let's say 100, I'm using 100 years compared to
Mm-hmm.
10,000 years. The
Yeah.
change was an unbelievable pace. And even if you compare the last year to the 1 year,
Yeah.
it was just ridiculous. So
Yeah.
reality is curiosity really helps, us to say why this is happening. Why did I have that? What happened here? Can I go and experiment a little bit with it?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I poke my face there and see what's happening? So something like that.
Yeah, I think that's really amazing. Like as Einstein says that that he's not just intelligent, but he's just passionately curious about things, and I think that one instinct is so important, which can which can help us learn a lot about it. And what, like, I've interviewed a lot of successful people, and one thing that I found common in all those is they are always willing to learn something new, and they're always coachable. They said, like, it's not, they can learn anything from anywhere, from anyone, regardless of whatever the age, whatever the circumstances, whatever the place. So this is one thing, is I think is the most important thing, that if anybody wants to grow, they need to be open to ideas, open to perspective, and the willingness to actually accept it, instead of just saying no. So
Yeah.
that's an amazing advice, and I'm sure our audience must have learned a lot from you. Okay, so what is the best medium that they can reach out to you? I know you're very active on LinkedIn. Any other medium, like if anybody wants to reach out to you?
Uh, I think just LinkedIn, to be honest with you.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't complicate it, Amber.
That's fine. That's fine. I've actually shared your profile in the comments. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing amazing insights about leadership, how it's changing, and what are the important ways that we can actually sustain our leadership. So thank you so much for joining, and thanks to all those audience who joined today, who are listening to us live, and those even who will be listening to us or watching this stream after the show. So thanks to listening and watching us and sharing your comments to make it more lively and more enjoyable. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thank you, Amber.